What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This is the new album from the band Triptykon, entitled Melana Chasmata. This is released on Century Media Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Zurich, Switzerland. And honestly, Triptykon is one of those bands that is so musically diverse within the metal worlds, it's almost very difficult to describe them with just one genre tag. Because to me, if you were to give Triptykon just one basic genre tag, really wouldn't pay off. It wouldn't have no sort of substance to it. I mean, for me, I hear a lot of death metal, but I also hear a lot of doom, some instances of black metal, some gothic metal, a little touch of thrash, a little touch of old 80s hardcore. There are just so many differing musical stylings and ideas that come forth for this project, and it's all because of one incredible human being who is a mastermind within the metal world, and I'm talking about Thomas Gabriel Fischer, or whom you may best know as Tom G. Warrior. His work in bands such as Hellhammer and Celtic Frost have made for some of the most legendary and memorable music to come out of metal for a very long time. I mean, Hellhammer with Demon Entrails, The Triumph of Death, some very, very classic EPs and demos, to stuff like Celtic Frost, Emperor's Return, Morbid Tales, To Megatherion, Into the Pandemonium, Monotheist, just a lion's share of great material and an amazing body of work. Now we have this current project, which is Triptykon. And the first era of Triptykon came out around 2010 with the debut album entitled Eparistera Daimones. That album really showed you that Tom Warrior was ready to begin the next phase of his career, the next movement of his project, because from the ashes of Hellhammer came Celtic Frost, and now from the ashes of Celtic Frost we have Triptykon. And with Eparistera Daimones, that album just showed you the kind of power, strength, and sheer will that he is still the man, and he can still make great music possible, and with a really incredible lineup of great, hardworking musicians to boot. That album was just so amazing. I mean, Goetia, Thousand Lies, The Prolonging, just some amazing songwriting, some amazing musicianship, and that album was a masterpiece in its own right. Now 4 years have passed since that album, and we have the official sophomoric effort from Triptykon entitled Melana Chasmata. You can tell everything was getting ready to be put into place as soon as you saw the H.R. Geiger artwork, and then the two released songs that came out. From what I could tell from the first two songs released, most notably Breathing and Boleskine House, it showed that this album was going to have a lot of diversity. I'm pretty sure the first Triptykon album had a ton of diversity, but this album gave you the hints and the ideas that there was going to be a lot more to toy with and mess around with. And now, here it is, the finished product. It's 9 tracks, and it clocks in at around 67 minutes in length, so by that kind of standard, it's a bit shorter. The first album felt very epic. This album seems to scale back just a little bit, song length-wise, and some other things as well. I've given this album a lot of listens. I want to say maybe 4 or 5 full listens, because this is an album you shouldn't just throw on and skip fast forward through anything. You really got to give it your time and your patience. And I'm a little bit conflicted. What I mean by that is, I don't know how I really feel about this album. On one instance, it has the ball-crushing moments that you would expect from anything that Tom Warrior knows how to do, or Tom G. Warrior knows how to do. with just some sensational songwriting and just some straight out incredible heaviness. But at the same time, I was expecting something to at least get at me or hit to me. And with Melana Chasmata, I just wasn't feeling that certain kind of hit. Am I disappointed by this? Not in the slightest bit. But in comparison to the first Triptykon album, I honestly wish this hit me harder a little more. But enough about my digressions. Let's get on to the music in itself. It's pretty much the typical Triptykon business as usual. The guitar work is absolutely stunning. I mean, from the minute you hear Tree of Suffocating Souls to Altar of Deceit, you just get some incredible gut-wrenching guitar work. The riff work is absolutely sensational. Tom Warrior knows exactly what he's doing when he plays his guitar. And Santura, who is also involved with the guitars, does some incredible work here. The solos are incredibly maniacal and very, very speedy and fast. The fast moments of the guitar work very well here, but then, of course, you get to the more calmer, subtle moments of the record, going back to Boleskine House and Aurora. Just some very, very patient, moderately timed guitar work going on with those particular tracks. And I think it's really, really awesome. And then you get to a track like Demon Pact, which definitely has some vibes that are very reminiscent of the last Celtic Frost record, Monotheist. You can tell definitely that the riff work on that track is just so haunting. I really, really love the haunting vibe of the guitar on that particular track. And then moving forward to Black Snow, which I would consider this album's big, bombastic type of song. I mean, Eparistera Daimones had the song The Prolonging, which was about 19 minutes in length. Here with Black Snow, it's about 12.5 minutes. So it's shorter, kind of a lesser kind of an impact, but still that represents some of the heaviest guitar work you'll hear on this album. I really, really think it's phenomenal what's being done here with the guitar, and I think it really, really tells the story more likely than anything of this album. Moving on to the bass tone is incredibly vivid and very, very good sounding. I mean, once again with Boleskine House, the bass on that track is just very, very rumbling and trembling. I just love how good it sounds on that particular track. And especially towards the more deathier, doomier sort of moments on this album. I mean, you hear a track like Breathing, you get some really, really good bass tones going on that track. And then moving forward once again to Demon Pact, you just get some really good bass movements going on with those particular songs. It's a very good bass tone, very clear in the mix, and definitely meant to make a statement. Moving on to the drums. This guy is a maniac. He proved himself to be a maniac on the first Triptykon album. And here on Melana Chasmata, you pretty much get the same kind of ideas and routines. You get some great drum fills and rolls, great, almost bombastic kind of bomb blast style drumming. It really, really sounds awesome. The variety and paces that go on this album, more likely than anything, this doesn't really feel like a fast record. It definitely feels a little bit on the moderate to mid-paced kind of sides, but this drummer definitely makes it work with his style and approach. Tracks like Tree of Suffocating Souls and Demon Pact really showcase some of the great evil-sounding drum work that you got going on here. But then you go back to Boleskine House and even some of the more ambient sort of tracks like In the Sleep of Death and Waiting. You just get some really, really patiently cared for drum work going on those tracks. And I think it definitely makes the listener very intrigued as to how the drummer handles himself and what he decides to set out to do. And I think it really, really sounds great. And I'm really loving the atmosphere and just the overall little touches that happen to showcase themselves on this album. Just the atmosphere, the slight usage of keys, I think it really, really sounds great. And one of the collaborators for this album, if I'm not mistaken, her name is Simone Vollenweerd Vollenwelder. I apologize if I said the name wrong, but she's been a vital part of the Triptykon music and stylings. And the inclusion of her vocals on tracks like Boleskine House and Waiting definitely make things a little bit more human. It adds sort of a human type of vibe to this album's overall sound, and I really, really think she does an incredible job here with her vocal performance. I think it's absolutely amazing. And now we get to the man himself, Tom G. Warrior, Thomas Gabriel Fisher. You pretty much know how his vocal style goes. You are pretty much going to be prepared as soon as he gets the big ooh going on when he says it at the beginning of Tree of Suffocating Souls. And once you get that out of the way, you get his great vocal stylings. Very raspy, very, very powerful sounding vocal style. He's got a great, rugged, raspy kind of scream going for him, and I really think he showcases that very, very well on Tree of Suffocating Souls, Altar of Deceit. Just some incredible, incredible vocal stylings going on there. And same with Boleskine House. You definitely hear his kind of dark, gothic, crooning style of singing, and I think it's really, really amazing. He does an incredible vocal performance on that track, and it definitely serves as one of the best songs of this album. And then you get on to Demon Pact, where you have some almost really, really freaky spoken word-esque style passages going on in that track, and I think it's downright frightening sounding the way he delivers his words. And then you get to a track like In the Sleep of Death, where you get the typical Tom G. Warrior growls, but you almost get somewhat of a theatrical, paranoid kind of vibe in his vocal stylings, basically calling out to Emily, basically feeling frightened and nervous. That's the kind of feeling you get with that particular song, but some of his best vocal moments definitely come on Tree of Suffocating Souls and with Boleskine House. I definitely love the way he handled himself on those particular tracks, so I definitely think this album was worth buying. This is definitely worth it for me. How I felt about this album in comparison to Eparistera Daimones is that this is another really solid album within the Triptykon discography. For this only being the second album, I think this is a very, very awesome listen. I don't think this album is better than Eparistera Daimones. I honestly think that in some instances, this album scales things back a little bit. Dare I say, it feels a tad bit safe at times. But those safe moments aside, I think this album definitely hits you right in the gut when you listen to tracks like Boleskine House and Demon Pact and Black Snow. Those are some of the heaviest, most devastating moments of this album. The heavy parts that you would know Triptykon best for are here. But all in all, I think this is an awesome album. I just don't think it's better than Eparistera Daimones. Do I see some top 20 contendership for this album? I definitely could say yes. But in the grand scheme of things, I wanted to love this album even more than I already do. Maybe I will. Maybe this album will grow on me. Doesn't mean I don't think you should not get it. I definitely think you should buy this album. I think it's worth it. I just wish it hit me harder. If I had to pick any favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Tree of Suffocating Souls, Altar of Deceit, Demon Pact, and Black Snow. Those are definitely some of my favorite tracks on this particular album. I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as to how you can listen to this and possibly get a hold of it. The two tracks that are currently available to stream on YouTube are the songs Boleskine House and Breathing. If you haven't heard those two particular songs, you'll have an opportunity to do so in the description box, and you can pretty much buy this wherever CDs and records are sold. You can buy the CD version. There's also a media book CD version. It is also available on vinyl. There are also some very special box set editions available if you are one of the few and proud diehard fans of Triptykon or Tom G. Warrior, or whatever you happen to be into. So, I'm going to show you the album again. This is Melana Chasmata by Triptykon. This is released on Century Media Records. Definitely pick this up. And as far as the score goes, I'm going to give this a very, very strong 8.5 out of 10. I still think this album is incredible. I just wish I could like it better than Eparistera Daimones. I still think the first Triptykon is the best album, but that's just my 2 cents. If you've heard this album, definitely let me know what you think of it. Either way, support Triptykon. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks all for watching. Thanks for joining my channel, and until next time, Army Ho out.